They told me I was too old to matter, that my opinions were outdated, my presence unnecessary. I remember those words echoing across my kitchen table, the same table I once used to pack school lunches, celebrate birthdays, and hold family prayers. But that day, it became a courtroom, and I was the accused. My name is Margaret Hayes. I'm 67 years old, and until a year ago, I thought love, especially family love, was unshakable. I was wrong. I live in a quiet neighborhood in Asheville, North Carolina, a small town surrounded by mountains and silence. After my husband Frank passed away 5 years ago, I stayed in our old house. The one with the white porch swing and a view of the hills he loved so much. We built this life together, every brick, every corner, every memory. But after he died, my world shrank. The phone stopped ringing, dinners became microwaved leftovers, and holidays turned into photos I saw on Facebook. My children, Daniel, my eldest, a real estate agent in Atlanta, and Emily, my daughter, who moved to Denver after her second marriage, used to call every week, then every month, and then hardly at all. Still, I told myself they're busy. That's what mothers do. We make excuses for the ones we love, even when they've stopped making room for us. It was a Sunday afternoon when Daniel and Emily both showed up unannounced. I was baking blueberry pie, Frank's favorite. For a moment, I thought maybe they missed me. But their faces were too serious, too rehearsed. Daniel sat across from me, adjusting his tie like he was preparing for a business deal. Emily stood by the counter, arms folded, glancing at her phone every few seconds. "Mom," Daniel started, his tone clipped. "We need to talk about the house." I smiled nervously. "What about it?" He exchanged a look with Emily. "About what happens next," he said. "You're getting older, Mom. And maintaining this place alone, it's not safe or practical." Emily jumped in quickly. "We've been talking, and we think it's time you consider assisted living. You'd have company there. People your age. Medical help nearby. It'd be good for you." I stared at them both, trying to understand if this was concern or convenience. "People my age," I repeated softly. "You mean old people who don't matter anymore?" Daniel sighed. "Mom, don't make it dramatic. We're just saying you need help. You're 70 next year." "I'm 67, I corrected. He shrugged, "Same thing." Their words stung deeper than they realized. I wasn't afraid of getting older. I was afraid of becoming invisible. As they went on about finances, property values, and transition plans, I realized something chilling. This wasn't about safety. It was about ownership. Daniel casually mentioned, "We already talked to a realtor about potential buyers, Mom. The market's great right now. You get a good price, and it could help cover your care." I blinked. "You talked to a realtor?" Emily avoided my eyes. "We just wanted to be prepared." Prepared. Prepared to sell my home, my memories, my life, and all without me. That night, after they left, I sat by the window where Frank used to read the newspaper. The pie sat untouched on the counter. The house was so quiet, I could hear the clock ticking, a reminder of the time I'd apparently run out of. But they were wrong. I wasn't done yet. If they thought I was too old to matter, they were about to learn. Age doesn't make you powerless. It just makes you patient. And that patience was about to become their biggest mistake. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Daniel's words in my mind. "It's not safe for you anymore, Mom." They said it like a sentence. Like my freedom had an expiration date. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about how quickly children grow from needing you to deciding for you. By sunrise, I knew what I had to do. I got dressed, not in my usual sweater and slippers, but in my favorite blue coat. The one Frank used to say made me look like I was ready to take on the world. I brewed coffee, brushed my hair, and looked in the mirror. My reflection stared back, tired eyes, silver hair, but still the same woman who once built a home from scratch, balanced bills, raised 2 kids, and stood beside a dying husband with dignity. I whispered to myself, "You're not done, Margaret. Not yet." By 10 a.m., I was sitting in the office of Mr. Collins, a local attorney who'd handled Frank's estate years ago. He was in his early 70s now, still sharp, still kind, one of the few people left who treated me like I still mattered. He smiled when he saw me. "Margaret Hayes. Haven't seen you since Frank's passing. What brings you in today?" I hesitated. "My children think I should move into assisted living." He nodded slowly. "And what do you think?" "I think they're planning something behind my back." He leaned forward. "Tell me everything." I told him about their sudden visit, the realtor conversation, the talk of selling my home. He listened carefully, his brow furrowing. Then he said something that would change everything. "Margaret, do you know whose name is on the deed to your house?" "Frank and mine," I said confidently. He shook his head. "After Frank passed, you never transferred it solely into your name. Legally, it's still listed under his estate. If your children file the right paperwork, they could pressure a sale, especially if they claim you're not competent to manage it." My hands went cold. "You mean they could actually take it?" He nodded. "If they push it hard enough." Silence. Heavy. Long. Then I said softly, "Then I need to fix that. Today." Over the next week, I made quiet moves. Mr. Collins helped me file documents to transfer the house deed, the joint savings account, and even my small stock portfolio entirely into my own name. He suggested setting up a living trust, where I remain the sole controller while deciding who'd inherit later. I didn't hesitate. I signed every page with steady hands. And when the last paper was sealed, I felt a strange calm, like reclaiming something I didn't even realize I'd lost myself. That evening, I went out to the porch and sat with a cup of tea. The sky was painted orange and pink, the kind of sunset Frank used to photograph. I held the new deed in my hands, smiling faintly. "This is ours, Frank," I whispered. "And no one's taking it from me." Just then, the phone rang. It was Emily. "Mom, Daniel said you've been acting strange," she began. "Strange?" I repeated. "You mean living my life?" She sighed. "We're just trying to help you. We're worried." "Worried," I said slowly. "Or impatient." There was silence. Then, the smallest tremor in her voice. "We just want what's best for you." I almost believed her, but then I remembered the realtor. The plan. The quiet way they'd already started erasing me from decisions about my own life. So I said, calm but firm, "What's best for me, Emily, is to be trusted. You don't have to visit if it's such a burden, but don't mistake my age for weakness." Before she could respond, I hung up. That night, I locked away the new papers and bank statements. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully. But peace never lasts long when others want control. Because the next morning, I saw a black SUV parked across the street, and Daniel stepping out, holding a file in his hand, looking furious. And I knew the real fight had just begun. When I saw Daniel walking up my driveway that morning, I already knew this wasn't going to be a friendly visit. He didn't even knock politely. He just walked in, his expression tight with anger and disbelief. "Mom," he said, holding up a stack of papers. "What is this supposed to mean?" I stayed seated at the kitchen table, my teacup trembling only slightly. He slammed the folder down. Copies of property deeds, bank forms, trust documents. "You changed everything," he said sharply. "You didn't tell us. You didn't even consult us." I looked at him steadily. "Consult you? About my own life?" He threw his hands up. "We were trying to help you. You're being paranoid." I smiled faintly. "Funny. Help usually doesn't involve calling realtors behind someone's back." His jaw clenched. "You don't understand how complicated things are. We were just making sure you were taken care of." "By taking away everything I worked for?" I asked softly. "By deciding I can't think for myself?" He hesitated, just long enough for the truth to hang in the air between us. Then he said the words that would burn themselves into my memory. "Mom, you're too old to handle all this. You don't know how the world works anymore." Something inside me snapped. All the quiet humiliations, being ignored, patronized, dismissed, came rushing out. "Too old," I said, rising slowly from my chair. Daniel, when your father and I had nothing, it was me who worked nights at the diner so you could go to college. When you crashed your first car, it was me who emptied our savings to fix it. And when your marriage fell apart, who took you in? He looked down. That's not what this is about. Oh, I think it is, I said, my voice trembling but clear. You grew up thinking love meant sacrifice. You just forgot who made the sacrifices. I sat back down, calmer now. I'm not angry, Daniel, I said. But I'm not helpless either. He frowned. What are you talking about? I slid a folder across the table, my copy of the living trust documents. I spoke to my attorney, I said. Everything, the house, the accounts, the investments, is under my name now. And when the time comes, it will go where I decide, not where anyone pressures me to. He blinked, stunned. You can't just. I already did, I interrupted gently. And unless you plan to drag your own mother to court, you'll respect that. He sank into the chair across from me, rubbing his temples. Why would you do this, Mom? He muttered. Because you stopped seeing me as a person, I said. You saw me as a burden, as someone whose story was over. But I'm still here, Daniel. I still think, I still dream, and I still matter. He didn't respond. For the first time, he looked small, not like the confident man who ran real estate deals and family meetings, but like a little boy who'd lost his way. After a long silence, he said quietly, Emily didn't mean to hurt you either. We just thought that I was fragile. I finished. He nodded. I sighed. Daniel, growing old doesn't make you weak. It just makes you tired of pretending to be strong for everyone else. He looked up, eyes glistening just a little. I'm sorry, Mom. And for a brief moment I believed him. But the truth is, apologies mean little when trust is already cracked. When he left, I watched him drive away, the SUV's shadow disappearing down the street. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. Instead, I felt a strange peace, the kind that comes when you finally stop begging to be understood. But that peace didn't last long. Later that week, I received a notice in the mail, a formal letter from a law firm in Atlanta. Daniel's name was on it. He was challenging my competency. He wanted to prove I was unfit to manage my own affairs. And just like that, my son had declared war on his mother. The day the letter arrived, I sat at my kitchen table for a long time before opening it. It was from Caldwell and Green, a law firm in Atlanta. The header alone made my stomach twist. The words were simple, clinical, cold. A petition has been filed to assess your competency and financial decision-making capacity. It felt like the floor had been pulled out from under me. My own son, the boy I once rocked to sleep during thunderstorms, was now questioning my sanity. For 2 days, I barely ate. I walked through the house touching everything, the family photos, Frank's tools, the curtains I'd sewn myself, wondering how my life had come to this. I thought about calling Daniel, begging him to stop. But pride, or maybe self-respect, stopped me. Instead, I called Mr. Collins. He listened quietly, then said, Margaret, I was afraid this might happen. But don't worry. We'll fight this. Fight. I whispered. He's my son. He paused. Then let's remind him what kind of mother he's dealing with. Over the next 2 weeks, my life became a swirl of paperwork, meetings, and quiet tears I refused to shed in front of anyone. Mr. Collins arranged an independent evaluation, a cognitive assessment to prove my mental soundness. The doctor, Dr. Myers, was kind. He asked simple questions, the date, the president's name, where I lived. Then deeper ones, my financial plans, my reasoning for recent decisions. When he finished, he smiled. Mrs. Hayes, not only are you perfectly competent, you're more organized than most people I see half your age. I laughed softly, the first time I'd laughed in weeks. The hearing was held in a small courthouse in downtown Asheville. I wore a navy dress, Frank's favorite, and held my head high. Daniel sat on the other side of the room, flanked by his lawyer. He didn't look at me. When the judge called my name, my knees trembled, but my voice didn't. Mr. Collins spoke first, presenting documents. My accounts, the trust, the recent transfers, all legitimate, all voluntary. Then Daniel's lawyer stood, his tone clipped and confident. Your Honor, this is a case of declining judgment due to age-related vulnerability. My client's mother has made impulsive and potentially harmful financial decisions. Couldn't stay silent. I stood up, voice trembling with controlled fury. Impulsive. I said. I spent 40 years saving every penny, raising 2 children, and paying off this house. I didn't lose my mind, counselor. I just stopped letting people steal from it. The courtroom went still. Even Daniel looked up, eyes wide. The judge asked if I wanted to make a personal statement. I nodded, stepped forward, and said, I understand my son believes I'm incapable. But if being capable means letting others make decisions for me, then maybe I don't want to be. I turned toward Daniel. When your father died, I thought I'd lost everything. But I learned something. Daniel, grief passes. Disrespect lingers. You took the one thing I never thought you could take, my trust. And for that, I forgive you. But I will not let you take my dignity. His eyes softened. For a moment, I saw the boy he once was, the boy who used to bring me wildflowers from the yard and say, For you, Mom. But that boy was gone now, replaced by a man too lost in pride to apologize. After an hour of discussion, the judge returned with his decision. He declared me fully competent and dismissed Daniel's petition with prejudice, meaning it could never be filed again. Mr. Collins squeezed my hand. You did it, he whispered. But as I looked at Daniel, shoulders slumped, avoiding my gaze, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. Sometimes, winning doesn't bring joy. It just brings peace. Outside the courthouse, I took a deep breath. The autumn air was crisp, the sun warm on my face. I thought of Frank. I did it, love, I murmured. I kept our home. I kept our name. But deep down, I knew something had changed forever. Daniel hadn't just lost a legal battle, he'd lost his mother's heart. And as I drove home that evening, I realized something I'd never thought before. Maybe letting go wasn't the same as losing. Maybe it was the beginning of something new. It's been 7 months since that day in court. The leaves outside my window have turned golden again, a reminder that even after everything dies, something beautiful still finds a way to grow back. Life feels calm now. Not perfect, not full of laughter and family dinners like it once was, but calm in a way that lets me breathe again. After the court case, I stopped waiting for Daniel and Emily to call. For weeks, I'd glance at my phone, half hoping, half dreading. But then one morning I decided to stop hoping. Instead, I started living. I joined a local community center, mostly women my age who'd lost spouses, been forgotten, or simply wanted someone to talk to. We shared stories over coffee and painted sunsets together. And for the first time in years, I laughed, the kind of laughter that doesn't hurt. I started volunteering at a nearby shelter for single mothers. They called me Miss Maggie there. Some of those women reminded me of my younger self, tired, scared, but full of quiet strength they didn't even realize they had. Helping them helped me heal. One rainy evening, I sat by the fireplace and began writing a letter. Not one of anger or guilt, but one of truth and peace. Dear Daniel and Emily, I don't know if this letter will ever reach you, but if it does, I want you to know something. I don't hate you. I never could. I only wish you'd seen me not as a burden, but as a woman who still had more to give. You both grew up believing love meant control. But real love, the kind your father and I shared, means freedom. It means letting people make their own choices, even when you disagree. I'm not angry anymore. I've found my peace. And one day, I hope you find yours too. I sealed the letter, placed it in a small wooden box, and tucked it inside my dresser, next to the updated trust documents and the deed to the house. I made one final visit to Mr. Collins, not for legal help this time, but to update my will. I left a modest share for Daniel and Emily, enough to show forgiveness, not dependence. But most of my estate, including the house, I left to a local scholarship fund for women over 50 returning to education. I called it the Second Chapter Fund. When Mr. Collins asked why, I smiled. Because everyone deserves another chance to start over, even at 67. That evening, I sat on the porch swing, the same one Frank built decades ago. The wind was gentle, carrying the scent of pine and distant rain. I thought about him, about all the mornings he'd sit beside me, reading the paper and humming some old country tune. "I did it, Frank," I whispered. "They said I was too old to matter. But I made sure I mattered, in my own way." A single tear rolled down my cheek, but it wasn't from sadness. It was relief. Because I finally understood something I wish I'd known sooner. Sometimes, the loudest kind of strength is quiet, the kind that chooses peace over revenge, truth over pride, and self-respect over approval. Now, when I wake up each morning, I don't think about what I lost. I think about what I found, my voice, my worth, my peace. I tend to my small garden, feed the neighborhood birds, and smile at strangers who remind me that kindness still exists in the world. And every evening, as the sun dips behind the mountains, I whisper a little prayer, not for my children to come back, but for them to learn what love really means. Because one day, when they do, they'll understand that I didn't take revenge. I simply took back my life. And that was the best justice of all. They said she was too old to matter, but she built a legacy no one could erase.